I guess I was going to start with, you know, is this year number 17 for you at St. X as head
Oh
coach?
wow. I've been the head coach since '04. I've been here since '96,
Okay.
and my first year coaching here was actually '93, and then I went into business. So whatever that is, from 2004 on, I've been the head coach.
So you played at St. X, correct?
I did. I played here in the '80s. Steve Rasso was my head coach, and I came back and coached for Steve. And then when Steve retired, uh, they gave the job to me.
And you played, was it 85? Urban was on the staff down there.
Yeah, yeah. Urban was my position coach. It was his first coaching job before he left, and we had a quarterback my senior year by the name of Greg Fry,
Oh
who
yeah.
ended up as Ohio State's quarterback. And it's an interesting story. I think it was Jim Tressel was recruiting at the time, came in, and I'm not sure if it was Jim or who it was, but they were in recruiting Greg, and they were going to meet with him. And I think it was Jim was talking to Steve Rassos saying, "Hey, we're really looking for an offensive GA to help with the tight ends. Do you know anybody?" And he said, "I've got the perfect guy for you. He just spent a year with me on staff. Wants to get into college. His name's Urban Meyer. We used to call him Coach UB. He was 21, 22 years old. We were 17, 18, and it's so funny because as I look back on those days, Kurt, he was fiery. You could tell he was different." But he wasn't Urban Meyer.
Right.
Nobody was writing about him. He was just another coach that kids love, man. You gravitated towards him.
Did he have the mustache at the time?
He did.
I,
I
I
just wrote a book called Fourth and Redemption based on our 16th season. It was the season we had that tight game against Pick Central in the semis at Piqua, and that was a miracle season for our kids. But Urban wrote the forward, and I used the team picture or the coaching staff picture. He's got his little mustache in there. But it's really funny.
yeah, yeah, I always get a kick out of those pictures of him back in the day. But so when you took over, was was everything kind of in place? I mean, because you went on what '05, went 15-0 and win your first state title. Um, what was it like when you took over that program?
Well, obviously, Steve Rasso had built incredible culture. Even Tom Balaban before Steve. And I'll be the third coach in 75 years. Think about that. I
Wow.
mean, we had Tom Balaban was here for 25 years. Steve Rasso was here for 26 years. So the culture was pretty much established. It isn't, I was handed the keys to the Cadillac and told don't screw it up. And, and like anything else in life, we preach to the kids, leave it better than you found it. So my job has always been to try to make it better, to take a great culture and try to work hard to make it better. And I think in some ways we have. We had a great class come in '04 that won two state titles in '05 and '07. But as well as I do, and Jay, you can ask Jay, he'll tell you the same thing. When you have good players, all of a sudden you're considered a pretty good coach.
Yeah, yeah. Jay obviously. I mean, I don't know. He's won 85% of his games, probably. A couple state titles already, and you sit up there in the crowd. I mean, this year's a little different, but when it's full crowd, it's just amazing what some people will say up there, and it's like, do you realize what I mean, like what you have right now? I mean, I guess it goes back to the old saying, you get spoiled. You win one, then that's not good enough, and I'm sure you face those same things down there. Expectations are always extremely high.
Oh yeah, shoot! I tell the kids the problem with success is you have to keep on being successful.
Yeah.
And in the book, Urban talks about that Lou Holtz once told him that building a program from scratch is pure fun, is just pure joy. Maintaining a program is fatigue.
Yeah.
and I think Jay's. I mean, you look at Jay's success. I mean, he's the standard. If you really want to talk about you look at Jay Sheridan, what he's done. He's built a program. He's built it the right way. The kids are always well coached. They're always disciplined. They always play hard, and he wins. Well, you win that first state title. Everybody wants that the next year and the next year and the next year, and it is so hard to get to a state final, and it's even harder to win it. Yeah. And here's Jay sitting on 2, looking at his 3rd. It's Pickerington Central's blessed. They really are, because he's a tremendous coach.
Yeah, when you take a look back, you had mentioned that 07 team that you had was, I mean, just phenomenal. I mean, when you look back at some of those, I think was that Luke Massa was at quarterback and Darius Ashley, and then there was a guy probably most people are familiar with on defense on that team, and Luke Keatley. What was it like coaching that group?
Well, it was, wow, we went into that season thinking, let's just get out of the way and let these guys play. They were that talented. And the crazy part about, you bring up Luke Keatley's name, Luke wasn't even a thought. He didn't play much as a sophomore because he had a broken leg. And we really didn't know what we were going to get from him. But we were so loaded defensively. We brought back 10 starters, and 5 of the 10 were 3-year starters on defense. They were going to be really special. And oh, by the way, the 11th piece to the puzzle happened to be the NFL defensive MVP and Luke Kuechly. And when Luke developed, I thought, wow, this is a special group of kids. And like I said, those were the sophomores in 05 that won a state title, and they lost in the regional final to a great Coleraine team their junior year. But that was a special group of kids. That was the most talented top to bottom that we've ever had.
So, I don't want to say it's a drought, but, you end up 2016, as you mentioned, we saw you there in the state semifinals down in Piqua, which is an amazing stadium for people that have not been there before. It's kind of a hidden gem. That was a fantastic game, back and forth. That was, I think that was Morgan Ellison's senior year. He was just a monster in the backfield for Central. But you guys had Sean Clifford, and I think the game ended up 29-27. Just fantastic game. And then you get you get Chuck Kyle the following week. That's always great. Man, you come in the playoffs that year, I think 5-5.
Yeah, we were 5-5, decimated by injuries early in the year. I think we lost that year 7 offensive starters even before the season began. It was just crazy. And the kids snuck into the playoffs at 5-5. We had to win week 10. And then we go into a playoff run. 3 of our games were in overtime. State championship was in double overtime, and the Pick Central game came down to the wire. That was anybody's game. It was really an amazing run for a great group of kids that year. And I think Ignatius just decimated us 36-14 at our place in the regular season. And then we saw them again in the state championship, and we're fortunate enough to come away with a double overtime win.
So here you are again, and this season has been one like any other that you could ever script. What was it like, just trying to get everything together, and everything was kind of on hold for so long, and you're still trying to preach to those guys, we got to be ready. What was all this like? I mean, just to try to get the thing off the ground.
That's a great question. I think Jay will speak to this. When it was July and they finally allowed us to start working out again, we lost. We had to quarantine a week after we started working out, and we were out for 2 weeks. Then we came back, and it was Governor DeWine's going to make an announcement, right? So we're all on pins and needles thinking he's going to shut down schools, and then he puts it on hold. And you breathe a sigh of relief, and your kids start practicing again. And then the next week, Governor DeWine's going to make another announcement. You're on pins and needles. And then the Big Ten shuts it down. And when the Big Ten shut it down, I thought there's no way the governor's going to allow high schools to play.
Right.
And you're on pins and needles. Yeah, it went on and on. And we told the kids the only way we're going to survive this is by focusing on now. Focus on the present moment and what we need to do today, because tomorrow doesn't matter. Quit worrying about tomorrow. Let's put it in the back of our minds, and let's just be diligent in our approach to today, because that's all we have, guys. And now you're looking at week 12. You've got Pickerington Central and St. Xavier going. What a testament to those kids to be able to focus on the present moment, not worry about all the craziness going on outside of us, and get to this point. I'm awful proud of our kids, and I know Jay's proud of his kids, to the fact that they've been able to withstand. And this is historic. I'm sorry, this is a historic year for everybody, and we're part of it.
Yeah, I saw you guys early in the season. You were on ESPN there against Brownsburg to start the season, and I had told a couple of people, I knew we had a pretty special senior class and an extremely talented sophomore class as well, and I thought that this team would have a good shot of maybe getting back to a state final if we got to that point. I thought we were maybe a year ahead of schedule last year. When we beat Elder, but to be in week 12 is just amazing, because you're thinking about each week you're trying to prepare for the opponent on the schedule, as well as another opponent in the virus. That you look at a team like Clayton Northmont that beat Springfield in the season, and then they find out that week we don't get to play, and that was just, man, that was heart-wrenching to see a season end like that for Northmont.
Heart-wrenching. That's a great word. I'm not a political guy, never have been, and I understand the arguments on both sides, but I'll tell you what's hard when you're an educator and you're a teacher.
Yeah.
To see kids lose dreams is really painful, and you saw that happen to Clayton Northmont. Those kids lost the dream of competing for a state championship because of a virus, and that really, I struggle with that as an educator, because the kids didn't do anything to deserve. None of us did, but kids especially, they're pretty much immune to it, whatever the percentages are. But anyway, there's smarter people out there in the world than me figuring all this out, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, so I mentioned the game on ESPN. You guys start the season against a team from Indiana, Brownsburg, and you're leading that game a lot of the way, 24-10, I think, or something like that, late fourth quarter maybe. And then it just, wheels kind of fell off there at the end. But when you look at your 2 games, you lose to Cathedral as well, another very good team out of Indiana. Both of those games, it just didn't look like you could get the running game going in either of those 2 games. I mean, just kind of stifled the running game, those 2 particular outings.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good assessment, Kurt. The Brownsburg game was our first game. It was their second game. We had to travel there. I thought our kids traveled great, and I thought for 3.5 quarters they played phenomenally. But we imploded at the end of the fourth quarter. And after the game, I told the kids, we're starting 5 juniors on the offensive line. So you guys got to grow up. This is all about the process. And we're a young team. We've got a lot of juniors that we're playing this year, and we knew it was going to take time to develop. And we got into the Cathedral game, and they were just physically, they were really, really good up front defensively. Yeah. And it's just part of the process. The offensive linemen, they have to grow up. They were still developing. But for us to be successful, we have to find some balance, obviously, in our offense, and we haven't. We've either been run heavy in some games or pass it heavy in some games, and you're always trying to find your identity. And I think all coaches are tortured souls. It's never good enough. We're
Right.
always, even after a win, you're looking at, gosh, if we just did this and did that. But we have improved. I mean, we've been an interesting team this year. It's a few games we score a lot of points to win, and then in some games we play great defense to win. It's been a tale of two cities, so to speak, during this playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, you guys look at your first four games. I mean, you got those two Indiana teams, but sandwiched in between there, you got LaSalle, who's still in it in Division Two. You had Elder, who you beat in the playoffs. So those first four games, I mean, it was brutal. I mean, and then you have a rival the following week in Moeller, there in week 5. I mean, you've had some pretty stiff tests there right out of the gates.
Well, I've always preached to the kids that if you want to grow and get better in life, surround yourself with better people. I've always said my success as a head coach is completely because I'm smart enough to know what I'm not very good at, so I hire coaches that are really good at these other areas, and those guys have done a great job. And I think it's the same for the kids. We want to schedule the best possible competition we can schedule year in and year out, because regardless of the outcome, you want the kids to compete, and they're going to get better simply by playing better competition. And in our case, over the years, it's worked out that we don't go 15-0 all the time. Sometimes we go 5-5, but when you're battle tested, you get into the playoffs. It's anybody's game, and I think teams that don't schedule difficult, they really struggle once it gets to playoff time. That's just my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you beat Moeller, then you beat, St. Ignatius, and in that little stretch there, did is it Brogan Mackay, your quarterback?
Yeah, our quarterback.
He gets hurt in that little stretch there, correct?
Yeah, he ended up, he played 2 series against Cathedral and went down with an injury. So he didn't play the last 3 quarters, and then he didn't play the following week against Moeller.
Yeah, and he's had some games this year. He's also a junior. Had some games this year where he's really lit it up. As you mentioned, so there's some games where you guys are throwing it a lot, and some games where you're relying on that run game. Um, Now, I had to ask you this. I know those rivals down at GCL South are pretty, intense. You've beat Moeller and Elder twice this year. Uh,
That doesn't happen very often.
no, no. So that's a feather in the cap. But you're tied with Elder at 28, and then you guys just kind of explode there in the playoff game, and I think what was it, 28 unanswered to end that game. That was
Yeah, that was an interesting game. We were up 28-14 at half, and Elder came out, and boy, they had some talented receivers. I think they hit Drew Ramsey on an RPO vertical, and they scored quickly to make it 21 or 28-21. In the very next series, we threw a pass that was tipped at the line of scrimmage, intercepted, and returned for a touchdown. It was you blinked, and all of a sudden it's 28-28 again. And Elder had the momentum. They tried an onside kick that we recovered, had a very short field, scored quickly, 3 and out the next series, scored right after that, and it was an avalanche after that. You're right, we scored a quick 28, and that ended the game.
Well, you guys, the following week, you get to see an old friend of yours, Tommy Bolden, and I gotta tell you, Coach, when I saw Coach Bolden take over that Lakota West job, my first thought was, uh-oh, I know that's a big district down there, and it's ripe for the taking, and I think he's the right man for the job there. I think Lakota West, we had played them maybe 7 or 8 years ago in the playoffs. And one thing I always thought they were missing was maybe a little bit of toughness. And he's certainly going to bring that to the table. And you guys were in an absolute battle with them. I think you throw a touchdown to Liam with 27 seconds to go ahead, and you got the old buddy there at the end.
Yeah, Tommy and I are very close friends. We've always said it on maybe 1 or 2 nights out of the year. We don't like each other at all for about 2.5 hours, but I think that Tommy is a quality class act. He's a gold standard when it comes to coaching football at the high school level. He's a better guy, though. He and I really have a good friendship, and it's hard. It's hard after games like that. And we've played each other 20 times in our careers.
Wow.
I like to affectionately refer to him as Darth Bolden, the Darth Vader deal. I still say he has that evil side, evil empire. But it's fun to compete. We've competed 20 times, but at the end of those games, we've been on somewhere we've won like this year, and then we've been on the harder end when you lose tight games. But the respect shown to both programs for one another it's something neat to see, because it's what high school sports all about. You compete like crazy. You don't have to like your competition during the battle, but afterwards there's a mutual respect. And I appreciate my relationship with Tommy. He's just a good man, a great coach. And you're right, Lakota West they've just begun under the Tom Bolden regime.
Yeah. Man, his teams at Coleraine were not very fun to play against. But it was, the fun part about it was, though, on the other side, is that you knew you were always going to be in a great game with them. Good talent, but great coaching, and just a great program at Coleraine. I think he's going to do even more at Lakota West, to be honest with you. And then last week,
they're young.
Yeah.
They're young.
So last week, I got to be honest with you. I turned on that Springfield game, and I'm a little bit familiar with some of their top end guys, but when I turned that film on, I was like, "Whoa, this team has some dudes." Man, they were big up front, athletes all over the place, speed all over the place. Coming into this Pick Central game, you couldn't have asked for a better team to kind of prepare you for the type of speed and athleticism that Central provides as well.
Well, and that's, as I told the kids, when we played Lakota West, I told our guys this, especially in the defensive secondary, they've got 2 kids. One's committed to Ohio State, and one that's probably going to commit to Ohio State at corners. They had so much speed on the back end. We thought, okay, we're going to be battle tested. For Springfield was faster. You talk about total team speed on the perimeter offensively and defensively, and the physical size up front was really, a lot of times you watch film and you're like, wow, they're fast, but then you see it live and it's like, no, they're faster than I thought they were fast. And so at least going into the Pick Central game, it's like, okay, we've seen so much speed the last 2 weeks. Our kids aren't going to be shocked by, guess what, guys? Pick Central has the same kind of speed that those 2 teams had.
Yeah.
But at least we've seen the speed up close and personal. Our kids have gotten to compete against it. So the wow factor isn't what it was going into the Lakota West game for us. You still got to prepare for a tremendous team. I mean, you talk about speed on the back end defensively, physical size and aggression on the front end. It's a mirror image of what we've seen the past couple weeks. And we've got our work cut out for us, obviously, because they do a great job. I said that before. Jay does a great job with that program. And I think Coach Lamonaco, I think he's been there, 17? I think he's been with Jay the whole time.
Yeah.
Because we've played each other now, I think, twice in 2011. We won the first one, and then Pick Central beat us in the semifinals. Right. And then 16. I've seen them up close and personal how well coached they are. So we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah, that you mentioned that 2011 season. You guys played them at Ohio State there early in the season, that game was wild with the delays and you really got the running game going that day. What was that kid? Was that kid's name Hunley or something?
Yes, Connor Hundley, great running back.
Yeah, big,
strong. Ended up going to Akron.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Jeff LaMonaco, and I get to see him almost every week. But I mean, I can't think that there is too many better defensive minds in Ohio high school football than he is. And that game plan, I thought, he had in 2011 was just phenomenal because I mean, you guys were so good as well. It was a great game, low scoring, very defensive minded game. But I thought that was one of his better preparation jobs, and he's had some good ones, but that one was because I'm going to be honest with you, I was like, man, I don't know if we can beat these guys after playing you guys at Ohio State, but he was ready. He had the guys ready that night, and like you said, we were able to come out on top that night, but you got us again in 16, and so you mentioned us a little bit. What just briefly, I don't want you to go into any details, but what briefly jumps out at you when you see those guys on film?
Number 3. I think he has a tremendous talent. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is a tremendous talent. He jumps out at you just because he's just a gamer. He just has a great instinct. He's a natural, and Notre Dame they have themselves a good one. But when you watch the film defensively, it's, as I said before, the back end speed is tremendous. They just play so fast, and they have this. I mean, the other styles, it seems like he's 7'3", roaming the middle of the field back at free safety. It's wow, what a tremendous. He's only a sophomore, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. Wow, what a future that young guy has. So you see that, and then you watch the front and how physical they are, and how gifted, how fast they move, and how they shed, and how just fundamentally how sound they are, and how physical they play. That jumps out at you. And offensively, it's that quarterback, man. He put him back in that receiver. Put him somewhere else, because he can create with his legs. And anytime your quarterback can run, obviously you have +1 in the box. So you have to figure out how are you going to defend this. Speed on the perimeter and the physical size up front with the offensive line. And schematically, I mean, my God, they pulled a house. I mean, you'll see the right guard pulling, and the backside tight end pulling, and they have a wing backside that's going to pull around as well. And they get a lot of bodies at the point of attack, and they get a lot of push, and just trying to figure out how you're going to defend that. It's daunting. It's daunting because they do so many different things with so many different blocking schemes. So what jumps out at you? A whole bunch jumps out at you. And I guess that's why they call us coach. And that's why we spend way too many hours breaking down film. It's 7:45 now, and I'll be here another 3 hours watching practice film, and then going back and watching their film, and just trying to figure out ways to give your kids some help or an advantage. And, I know Jay and his staff are doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Styles, and there's been a lot of good players come through the halls at Pick Central over the last decade, 20 years really. But he's just one of those guys that, when you need a play to change the course of the game, and you probably saw it last week, that Mentor game, they jump out 21-0, and probably could have stepped on their throat, but it's just, that's kind of how the seasons went for them. Just get up big, and nobody's been able to compete with them until last week, and then they come back. But they were kind of flat, and then Styles changed the momentum back. He turned a 70-yard run, and just he's got that just explosive speed that. And you're right, Notre Dame is getting a guy that, it's been a long time since they've had a guy with that kind of just game-breaking speed. But they get it honest. The dad was a pretty solid athlete, and you mentioned you mentioned the quarterback, and I don't know if you know this. This really has nothing to do with the game. So he also is a Division One basketball. He's got offers. He's going to Northwestern for
Yeah,
football.
that's what I thought.
Um, he ran a 4:15 mile as a sophomore, finished fourth in the state while going back and forth between AAU basketball. He's the class president and National Honor Society member as well. He is one of the most phenomenal, just human beings that you would ever meet. Like, oh, and he was homecoming king. I
Good
mean,
for him. I love those stories.
that's
I
like the
love.
stuff that happens like in mom and pop's towns, right? Not at a major, suburb of Columbus, but I figured you would enjoy that. But
That's great. Good for him. Good for him. Is he going to play football at Northwestern? Because
yeah,
that's what I. Good for
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Four
His dad.
15 mile. That's I think I could do a 4:15 once around the track.
Yeah, yeah, he was fourth in the state as a miler, and then he was on a couple of the state winning relay teams because they've won back to back state titles in track. Of course, we didn't get to run last year, but um, so yeah, I mean he comes from good stock as well. I think his dad played in the minors, so that helps. That.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, yeah.
but
He's a talent.
So, switching the page here, but I'll get you out of here. What do you like about your team right now? Heading into, I mean, you're battle tested, no doubt about it. But what do you like specifically about your team right now?
Well, I think what I really like about this group is what we alluded to earlier with the changes with COVID and how you had to be mentally tough. I love their focus. I love how they prepared all year long. And the mark of any, people will ask you, how do you determine success? I always look at the growth, the development they made from week one to the end of the year. And sometimes we've had unbelievably great years that ended early. When we improved so much, we just ran into a team that was better than us at some point. But this group continues to grow. I've watched them from week one. They really focus. They have a great work ethic, and they've improved. Week to week to week, they've improved. In the last couple of weeks, they didn't flinch. In tight games when we were down, they didn't flinch. They kept grinding. You never see kids drop their heads. Offense, we threw an interception on the 20 late in the game, and our defense didn't flinch. They were patting Brogan on the helmet as he was coming off the field. They said, "We got you. We got," and then they blocked the field goal to give us a ball back. They don't flinch, and there's talent. We have some talent on the team. Liam Clifford is as good as it gets as a receiver. But we've got a lot of real blue-collar guys, too, that just grind and do their job, and they don't care who gets the accolades. They don't care who gets the press clippings. They just want to be their best. And collectively, we've been able to do that all year long, and that's one thing I'm always going to remember about this group of kids.
Yeah, you mentioned blue-collar guys, man. That animal you guys got there in the middle, Divine. That play he made last week, he gets his helmet ripped off, just tracks the quarterback down without a helmet on. I mean, that was pretty. That was impressive.
Maddie's a throwback. He's a dick butt kiss of this generation. Yeah. I love him. The colleges would come in and look, coach, he's and I say, I don't care what you tell me. This is one of the best defensive football players I've ever coached in my career. He is a throwback. And the crazy thing is, nobody was really recruiting him that hard. And I was going through his list, and the number one school on his recruiting list was the Air Force Academy. And they're the first school that called and offered him. And Coach Calcett asked me, he said, what do you think, Coach? And I just started laughing. I said, just be prepared. When you offer him, he's accepting right away. You're the number one. And I've always told kids that when you give your very best every second of the day, God takes care of you. He's going to take care of you. And I told Maddie when they offered, I said, God took care of you because you do everything you can with the gift that he gave you, which is you. And happy for him. But he's an animal. God love him. He has played through more craziness over the past couple of years, and yeah, I love him. He's a very, very talented young man.
Yeah, you turn the film on for 5 minutes. I mean, and that, I mean, you just go, that guy's a football player right there. I mean, like you mentioned, I don't care what you say, that kid's a football player. But so, you guys, uh, this is first time since this 2016. You're back. Is it the, I'll get you out of here. Is this that old feeling coming back? I mean, playing for a state title. It's a little different circumstances this year. I mean, with the capacity in the crowd, but it's still for the state championship.
Yeah, they're all different. No, this is a state championship. The grass is a little greener and the sky's a little bluer. It's the state championship for I argue it all the time. I think Ohio has the best high school football top to bottom, and you're playing for a state title here. That's special. But I will say every single trip to the state finals is different because the teams are different, the kids are different, the location's different. But make no mistake, it's special to have an opportunity to play in this game is a special deal for these kids, the coaches, the communities. And as we talked earlier, I just hope they don't get spoiled and think that this is, oh, snap your fingers and it happens, because there's so much work that goes into it on so many different levels. And community support's a big one. The communities that support their kids and their programs, great things happen. And Pickerington Central has that support. St. Xavier High School has that support. And it's a shame that we aren't going to have a packed house of however many the stadium holds,
Yeah.
but it's still the state championship.
Yeah, I mentioned that because, Pick Central has a great student body as well. And I know you guys, one of the big things at your schools, especially in that GCL South, is just the student body, and the student section is just so beneficial and supportive of your teams. And that's a bummer. But like you said, it's still a state championship, and I've tried to tell people in Pickering. I mean, you look at Central right now, 3 times in a state championship game in 4 years, guys. This isn't normal. Like, I mean, like this isn't gonna continue and continue and continue. You enjoy this while you can, because I mean, you went to 2 and 3 years, and you know how difficult that is.
Yeah, it's hard to get back. You have to. I think the older I get, I think this is my 30th year of coaching, you appreciate the journey a heck of a lot more. And you take time to enjoy the moments and not worry so much about the destination. And if coronavirus hasn't taught us anything, Kurt, it's at least taught us the importance of spending quality time with quality people. When you have it on your hands, nobody was able to say during the lockdowns, I don't have time. My
Right.
kids spent more time with my kids, spent more time with my close friends, family. If it's taught us anything, the journey is so much more important than the destination.
Well, Coach, man, it's been an honor to have somebody, as we respect you and your program and that community down there so much, and we just appreciate you coming on. And if you decide to hang up the whistle, I think you got a shot at working maybe some TV or something. You kind of got a little John Gruden to you.
Well, Kurt, I've been told I have a face for radio, so I don't know if TV's going to work out for me, but I appreciate the sentiment, and thank you for the kind words. We have an awful lot of respect for the Pickerington Central Tigers and your community. You guys do a great job, and like I said, I think Jay's one of the gold standards in this coaching profession. So it's going to be what a great opportunity for all of us Friday night to witness a great group of kids on both sides celebrating their gifts. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll start a podcast one day together. I'll get you a purple hat.
Well, you realize Elder's purple, so we try to stay no purple markers, no purple shirts.
Well, hey, Coach, thanks for spending few minutes with us tonight. We greatly appreciate it.
Kurt, I appreciate you having me on. You guys take care now.
All right.